You have groups that...
And truth be told, about the only way to do that is one house at a time. In countless villages throughout Africa, local healthcare workers call on friends and neighbors. How many kids younger than 5 live here? Have they received all their polio shots and boosters?
Who's got the vaccine?
4 children live here, including a 3-year-old boy and a 7-month-old baby named Magartu. Magartu's mother, Desare, welcomes the vaccinations, was eager to invite the team of yellow-vested Rotarians and local volunteers into her courtyard.
Other hand, oh yeah. Don't get it in her face.
Sweet.
So pretty.
But door-to-door campaigns can be daunting. In this part of Ethiopia, streets, such as they are, have no names, and houses have no numbers.
This is not like map in Phoenix, Arizona, where every street's laid out north, south, east, west. Here you've got alleys and streets and trails and villages and huts here and huts there.
Polio vaccine can be fragile. Without proper protection, it will quickly spoil in the equatorial heat.
The interesting part is that little dot on the vaccine bottle. This will provide vaccine for 20 children. That little dot is white as long as this vaccine is kept cold. It was discovered and invented by PATH in Seattle, Program for Alternatives to Technology and Health. And if this vaccine gets warm, that dot turns black. And the vaccine's no good, and we know that.
So on vaccination day, time is always of the essence. And on this day, the process comes to a sudden, unexpected halt.
So did he not want the child to be vaccinated? The father here did not want the child to be vaccinated. The mother has heard about polio and wants the child to be vaccinated. And so these guys here are explaining that this polio will cripple this child and ruin this child forever.
Even one unvaccinated child can become a carrier. Enough carriers can spark an epidemic. It's no small concern. Back in 1988, wild polio virus was endemic in more than 125 countries. That's when an unprecedented campaign, spearheaded by Rotary International and the World Health Organization, set out to raise enough money to vaccinate virtually every child in the world.
It's almost like when President Kennedy said, "We will put a man on the moon." Everybody was focusing to put every expertise and know-how to get there.
It worked astonishingly well. In little more than a decade, wild virus was exterminated in all but just 4 nations: Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and Nigeria. Places where you might think that extreme poverty or ongoing conflict would make vaccinations all but impossible.
But you know, it's amazing. They've had days of peace, and they've managed to work with the Taliban and with the different warlords to actually have people lay down their arms, stop the fighting, and let the vaccinators in.
But polio is a tenacious foe. When vaccinations were briefly suspended in one corner of Nigeria, new cases of the virus were reported throughout the heart of Africa, spread quickly by famine, war, or even annual religious pilgrimages. Fortunately, Muslim leaders have worked hard to help overcome pockets of concern about vaccine safety. The apprehensive father lives in a predominantly Islamic region of Ethiopia, but his faith has little to do with his objections.
What happened is this gentleman is a polio victim, and his concern was basically to make sure that children are vaccinated properly and their ages also be documented properly.
How do you feel about him raising questions?
I think that's wonderful. I think he's got the proper attitude, and he's not saying we shouldn't vaccinate. He said that people would just rush, and he didn't want to see that.
And in fact, that's one of the main reasons why Dr. Wenzel has joined Ezra on this journey. Millions have been spent on the eradication effort, and more is still needed.
I don't understand, Ezra. They don't have enough vaccine now here in...
Not enough vaccine.
Everyone, including the Gates Foundation and Rotary International, is determined to see that donors get maximum bang for their buck.
These are kids that were missing, but she found them and she gave them vaccination.
So for the whole day, they didn't miss one child? That's kind of... All the children are vaccinated. They found all of them?
Yeah, they're all vaccinated.
The bottom line for nearly everyone is the fervent desire to wipe out polio so that the money can be spent instead on a host of other urgent needs. The village of Gerbo long had an urgent need: clean water. When Bill and Karen McCarthy first visited this village, women and kids spent an hour each day hiking to the nearest stream.
Then they had to carry 2 40-pound jerry cans of water back from there. Now it's a 5-minute situation. Just talked to one of the ladies and she's very happy. Life is easier.
Water is now pumped to Gerbo from a new well, thanks to a fundraising drive led by the McCarthys. They learned of Gerbo's plight only because Ezra brought them here on a previous polio vaccination trip.
No, I think what's happened is that there have been hundreds and hundreds of Rotarians who have come to Africa to help solve polio, and then they look around and they say, I could fix that well, or I could build that school, or I could provide this community with a meeting hall, or whatever it happens to be. We started with many people with polio and the polio eradication campaign, and it's grown from there.